There is a kind of apology that doesn't sound like an apology at all. It slips out quietly, almost breathlessly, as if someone is trying to shrink the space they take up in the world. A soft sorry for speaking. A gentle sorry for existing in the wrong moment. An automatic sorry whispered even when nothing is wrong. People who over-apologize often carry an invisible weight, an old, unspoken fear of being too much, too loud, too inconvenient. Their apologies become a language of survival. A way to stay small in rooms where they once learned that safety depended on softness. There is a moment so small, it almost disappears right before the apology leaves their mouth. A tightening in the chest. A flicker of doubt. A ripple of fear that something they said, did, or simply were, might have disturbed the balance around them. And before the thought even forms fully, the word arrives. Sorry. Soft. Automatic. Unquestioned. For people who over-apologize, the world is not just a place to exist in. It is a place to move through carefully, gently, cautiously. As if every step risks stepping on someone else's shadow. As if every sound they make echoes a little too loudly. Their body learns to shrink first and breathe later. Their voice learns to retreat before it knows whether it needed to. This reflex becomes woven into the smallest corners of daily life. Apologizing for asking a question, for needing clarification, for walking past someone, for speaking at the same time, for taking too long, for taking too little, for taking anything at all. 1,000 tiny sorries that are less about remorse and more about reassurance. Please don't misunderstand me. Please don't be upset. Please don't turn away. On the surface, it might look polite, kind, considerate, but inside, the experience feels different. It feels like watching yourself disappear in real time, like smoothing every rough edge until nothing remains sharp enough to hold onto, like being so afraid of being a burden that the safest choice becomes erasing every trace of inconvenience. Over-apologizing is not simply a habit. It is a quiet, emotional language. A way of saying, without saying, I hope I haven't taken more space than I'm allowed. Those who live with this reflex often understand, intimately, what it means to monitor the atmosphere of a room. To scan faces for signs of discomfort. To adjust, soften, and shrink until no discomfort can be traced back to them. Their nervous system learns to stand on tiptoes, calibrated to protect harmony, even at the cost of themselves. Sometimes the apology comes with a small smile, a quick laugh, a gesture of reassurance. Anything to soften the moment, to smooth the interaction, to let the other person know, you don't have to change for me, I'll change for you. And most of the time, the other person doesn't notice. They simply accept the apology and move on, unaware of how much the word cost or how often it has been said. But inside, something else is happening. Every unnecessary apology becomes a tiny reminder that their comfort is secondary, that their emotions are negotiable, that their needs must always come last. And over time, these reminders begin to pile up quietly, like thin layers of dust settling over the self, barely noticeable at first, yet suffocating in their accumulation. Still, there is another side to this reflexor, tenderness rarely acknowledged. People who over-apologize often have gentle hearts, sensitive nervous systems, deep awareness of the feelings of others. They care, they notice, they sense shifts that others overlook. Their apology is not a performance, it is a longing to keep the world soft, even when the world has not always been soft to them. This is the paradox. The very thing that exhausts them is also something that once kept them safe. Shrinking made sense when they were young. Softening made sense when conflict felt dangerous. Apologizing made sense when silence between breaths felt too fragile to risk. But now, the reflex exists long after its purpose has faded. It follows them into adulthood, into friendships, into workplaces, into love. It shapes their identity without asking permission. It makes them believe that being careful is the same as being good, that being small is the same as being accepted. Yet somewhere deep inside, a quieter truth stirs an unspoken awareness that maybe they shouldn't need to apologize for breathing. Maybe the apology is no longer a shield, but a weight. Maybe their presence never needed to be softened so much. This chapter ends here, in that quiet noticing. The first glimpse of recognition. The moment a person begins to see their own pattern, not with judgment, but with the tenderness of someone finally realizing they deserve a little more room to exist. Before a person learns to apologize for everything, they learn something far more foundational, that their presence can cause disruption, that their emotions can make someone uncomfortable, that their needs might be met with irritation, disappointment, or silence. Over-apologizing is rarely born in adulthood. It has roots, old and familiar, buried in places the mind stopped visiting long ago. For many, it begins in childhood, the first classroom, where identity was shaped, the first stage where approval felt like oxygen. In some homes, harmony was delicate, breakable. A slammed door meant tension. A raised voice meant danger. A heavy sigh meant trouble close by. Children growing up in such environments learn early how to tiptoe around emotions that do not belong to them. They learn how to sense discomfort before it becomes visible. They learn that peace is something you protect with caution, and so the seeds of apology are planted. Imagine a child who asks a question and is told they're being too much, or one who makes a mistake and feels blame press against their small shoulders with no explanation, or one who grows up with caregivers who needed quiet compliance more than emotional expression. In those moments, a child internalizes a simple, powerful story. If something goes wrong, it must be because of me. Some environments teach this directly, others teach it indirectly through inconsistency, unpredictability, or the subtle withdrawal of affection when boundaries are crossed. Not all wounds come from cruelty. Some are shaped by absence, neglect, or the quiet pressure to behave perfectly. And in families where love is conditional on obedience, children learn to apologize as a form of self-preservation. The apology becomes a shield, a way to stay safe, a way to avoid conflict, a way to make themselves easier to love. But childhood is not the only birthplace of this pattern. Sometimes the habit emerges later, in relationships where someone's emotions were constantly dismissed, where a partner or friend interpreted every difference as a personal offense, where the person learned that their desires triggered discomfort, where they were made to believe that wanting anything at all was asking for too much. These experiences do not always announce themselves as trauma. They can be subtle, gentle, slow, but the impact remains, a growing belief that the easiest way to maintain peace is to take responsibility for everything, even things that never belonged to them. People who over-apologize often grew up emotionally attuned to others in ways that were never reciprocated. They felt the room shift before anyone else did. They sensed moods, tension, disappointment, and because no one helped them understand these sensations, they assumed they were the cause. The brain of a sensitive child makes sense of chaos in the simplest way it can. If I am careful, everything will be okay. If I am small, no one will be upset. If I say sorry first, maybe the storm won't come. Over time, these early truths harden into quiet beliefs. Beliefs about responsibility, about worth, about how much space they're allowed to occupy without consequence. By adulthood, the apology is no longer a choice. It is a reflex encoded in muscle memory, like flinching at a sudden movement or whispering in a sacred place. Even people raised in loving homes can develop this pattern if they were praised excessively for being easy, polite, compliant. If they learned that their goodness came from their gentleness, their patience, their silence. If they internalized that conflict was something to avoid at all costs. Every sorry they say today is a small echo of the original environment, where they learned that maintaining peace required their softness. The past does not disappear. It folds itself into the way a person walks, speaks, reacts. The origins of over-apologizing are not about blame. They are about understanding. They are about recognizing that the habit once served a purpose that may no longer be needed. And in this recognition, something tender begins to happen. The person starts tracing the thread back to its beginning, seeing the places where their voice first learned to shrink, not to accuse the past, but to understand the present. They begin to realize that their apologies are not failures, They are stories. And stories can be rewritten, even if they were never meant to be told in the first place. A person does not wake one morning and choose to apologize for everything. The nervous system learns it slowly, quietly, through repetition, through moments that felt small at the time but accumulated like sediment along the edges of the mind. Over-apologizing becomes a kind of neurological choreography, instinctive, rapid, precise. A dance the body performs before the mind even recognizes the music. In psychology, this pattern is often linked to a nervous system trained to scan the landscape for signs of tension, disappointment, or disapproval. For someone who over-apologizes, this scanning becomes as natural as breathing. Their attention darts toward micro-expressions, shifts in tone, pauses in conversations. They read the environment not just with their eyes, but with every part of their body, like a tuning fork vibrating at the faintest hint of emotional change. The brain, shaped by old experiences, becomes a prediction machine. It tries to anticipate outcomes before they happen. It prepares defenses before threats appear. And one of its most reliable defenses becomes self-blame. If everything is their fault, then everything is within their control. The apology becomes a way to preempt danger. If I take responsibility immediately, nothing can escalate. This pattern is deeply tied to attachment. Children who grew up needing to secure connection, whether due to emotional inconsistency, criticism, or withdrawal, often develop what psychologists call anxious or fawning responses. Their nervous system learns to maintain closeness through compliance rather than authenticity. As adults, this emerges as people-pleasing, conflict avoidance, and an urge to smooth interpersonal waters before they even ripple. Neuroscience reveals something subtle. The stress response is not limited to fear or anger. It can also produce appeasement. A person may freeze or fawn as instinctively as another might fight or flee. Over-apologizing fits into this category. A soft, compliant reaction meant to keep the environment calm. It is not weakness, it is adaptation. Cognitive skimmers, the mental frameworks formed early in life, add another layer. Someone who habitually apologizes often carries skimmers centered around defectiveness, guilt, or excessive responsibility. These skimmers whisper old lines into new situations. You caused this. You should have known better. You need to fix it. And because the brain seeks coherence, it interprets events through these lenses. A neutral moment becomes a potential conflict. A simple request becomes a burden. A misunderstanding becomes a personal failure. Even the way the mind interprets silence can shift. A pause in conversation may feel like judgment. A delayed message may feel like rejection. The brain fills these gaps with stories shaped by past experiences, and the apology becomes a quick bandage for an imagined wound. There is also the role of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself based on repeated behaviors. Over-apologizing, when practiced for years, becomes carved into neural pathways. The more the apology is used as a coping mechanism, the more readily the brain offers it as the default solution. It becomes the fastest route to safety, or at least the illusion of it. And beneath all this lies the simple but profound human need for belonging. People who over-apologize often long for harmony, not because they fear conflict itself, but because conflict once cost them something precious: stability, affection, safety, or their apologies become quiet offerings to protect the relationships they value, even when those relationships pose no real threat. But while these psychological patterns explain the behavior, they do not define the person. The nervous system that learned to appease was trying to protect them. The brain that anticipates disappointment was once trying to keep them safe. Understanding this softens the narrative. It turns judgment into compassion. It reveals that over-apologizing is not a flaw, but a deeply human adaptation to environments that taught someone to carry more responsibility than they ever should have. There is relief in this awareness, a gentle loosening. The beginning of seeing the pattern, not as who they are, but as what they learned. And anything learned can, slowly and patiently, be unlearned.